That's why they call me bad company. I can't deny. Bad company.
All right. Welcome to the W2W review. I am the Raider Pirate, and I will be flying solo today. My partner, the Oakland Knight, is out with his daughter at Disneyland enjoying this wonderful week. So, first of all, I just want to say I hope that Jason, the Oakland Knight, and his daughter Jordan and his family are all having a good time. He certainly deserves it. I was talking with the Knight during our bye week. So we took the bye week when the Raiders took their bye week. And it was really funny because as we were talking, I said, I thought I was going to get a lot of rest. I thought I'd recuperate, be able to go out and do things. And in reality, what ends up happening is you watch the same programs, you listen to the same people, you want to get out there, you want to produce material, but you force yourself, you physically force yourself. We're not going to do it. We're going to take this time off. And that combined with the fact that there was no game on Sunday and just, we did a few things. We did a few live things, but it wasn't what we would normally do, which is come on here and produce good content. So it didn't even feel like a bye week. It didn't feel like a vacation. It didn't feel like a recuperation. It really basically just kind of felt like we were struggling through. So I do want to say I hope he is enjoying himself right now. I think it's a lot easier when you've got a lot of stuff to do with Disneyland and all those, the rides and your family and all the different types of events. So I really do hope to Jason, Jordan, the entire family, that they do really enjoy themselves. Even if he comes back next week and he's bone tired, at least he will have enjoyed himself, with his daughter. So, once again, it's something that he does with his daughter once a year. He takes her, and that week is dedicated toward her at Disneyland. So a shout out again to the Oakland Knight. He's put in so much time, so much dedication. He really is the engine that drives, this show. Every day we sit down, every day we talk, every day we write down our list. So today will be a little different because I sort of put down my own list, but we kind of bounce ideas off, figure out what's really worth talking about. And then we start moving from there. So once again, shout out. Hopefully they are having a fantastic time. So now we're going to go ahead and move into it. What we don't do here on this program, and this is something that really is important because as I sat there today without Jason to talk to, I just kind of was flipping through all of the different channels and Sports Center, ESPN, the Good Morning Football, NFL Live, Shannon, Undisputed. What we don't do here is we don't talk about LeBron James thinking, ridiculous thoughts because somebody says the word posse that they're racist. We don't care about that. He's not a racist. It's the slip of a tongue. That's it. That's all that needs to be talked about. All kinds of other stuff that's going on. We don't talk about Tony Romo, Dak Prescott. We don't really care. We don't need a quarterback. It's not going to affect us, even if he's available next year. Who cares? We've got our franchise quarterback. We got another quarterback. We're grooming behind him. It doesn't really matter to us. The great thing about this show is it's Raider stuff. Now, there may be, in the offseason, we may actually be talking about Tony Romo, but not for this reason, folks, not because of a competition between him and Dak Prescott. If, for whatever reason, he ends up going somewhere like Denver, we just may have to talk about it because it would be important at that point. But for right now, we're not going to talk about Hugh Jackson. We're not going to talk about, is this football team going to be on 16? We talk about the Raiders and what's going on with the team that they're playing, or potentially, like we have been, about playoff projections and things of that nature. So this week, we're going up against the Houston Texans. And the Will to Win review, again, is a review of things that people have written, articles people have written, or news that's Raider related that may have come up. And today there was an interesting article by Bill O'Brien who said that he He's happy with who he picked. That he didn't pick Derek Carr, and instead he drafted, Javier Su'a-Filo. I don't even the guard from UCLA, Javier Su'a-Filo, who a lot of people have said, over the last 3 years has really been a bust. He says, hey, the guy's healthy now. We're happy with him. We are now so happy with this guy. Oh, Derek Carr, no. It doesn't matter that our quarterback last week threw for 99 yards. Doesn't matter that guy hasn't thrown for a 300 game all season long. It doesn't matter he only has, like 16 or 17 touchdowns. Other quarterbacks are blowing him away in that category. It doesn't matter that this offense is sputtering. It doesn't matter that we paid all this money, and in fact, we're getting worse quarterback play than we got with guys like TJ Yates and, the other three quarterbacks that they had, last year. You could have taken the money that they gave to Brock Osweiler, and you could have paid for all three of those quarterbacks. You could have probably done 8 to 10 year deals on each one of those quarterbacks, had them then come and work in your front office for the rest of their lives. You could have took all three of those guys, taken the money that you put into Brock Osweiler, you could have had them for 10 years on your football team, then had them work for the rest of their life until they were 65 for the amount of money that you paid for Brock Osweiler, who, by the way, Denver said, we'd rather take the butt fumble quarterback. We'd rather take Trevor Siemian, who it's being proven that he's an average quarterback at best when teams actually get to break him down at best. This guy's just average, and we'll just go and draft another guy, another 6'8" guy, and bring him in here, because that's what we like. We like guys that are 6'8". We don't want to take, we don't want to turn the reins over to this guy. We don't trust Osweiler. We had him in practice. We had him in real games. If not for this defense, this guy probably would have lost a lot of games. He was not extremely effective in any of those games. He never had a game where you said that guy is going to be something special. And that's the nature of the NFL. That's the nature of where we are right now, where you're going to go out and you're going to pay somebody probably a lot more money than you'd want. But the funny thing is, if you take a look, and I don't even want to get in, let me pull it up here. I don't even want to get into Cleveland, who's just way worse. But if you take a look at what the Texans did, you take a look at their draft. With their first pick, they took Jadeveon Clowney. They had a choice. Khalil Mack was there, Jadeveon Clowney, a lot of talk about who was going to be picked. And they went and they took Clowney. And he's had, injuries in back-to-back seasons. He's finally kind of turning it on now that J.J. Watt is not, the focal point. Somebody else has to step up. It looks like Jadeveon Clowney is doing that. With the second pick in the second round, they took Javier Su'a-Filo, the guard out of UCLA. A lot of people said he was going to be a good player. 2 years down the road, they said he may be the biggest bust of all time. Now, he's gotten better, and again, O'Brien says in this article that now he's finally healthy, and he's probably one of the most improved players on the team, but they have a terrible offensive line. In the third round, they took C.J. Fedorowicz. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Middle to low tier tight end. He's had a couple of good games coming up, but it's because they can't get the ball outside to their outside receivers. Louis Nix also in the third round. Then they took Tom Savage in the fourth round, QB out of Pittsburgh. Now, if you look at what the Raiders did in 2014, they took Khalil Mack, number one. Mack dropped to them. No, he didn't drop to them. He dropped past the teams in front of Khalil Mack. Anybody could have taken Khalil Mack. So everybody always says, oh, he dropped to Reggie. No. Other people passed on Khalil Mack, right? In the second round, they took Derek Carr. Derek Carr did not drop to Reggie McKenzie. Derek Carr fell past Cleveland twice, and he fell past Houston, who needed a quarterback. And in the third round, Reggie moved up and picked Gabe Jackson, took Justin Ellis after that, and even got TJ Ward in this particular draft class. So you got a number of guys, Keith McGill still on the team. So once again, if you take a look and you say, okay, so you got Clowney, who you couldn't use for 2 years. Now he's kind of stepping up a little bit. You got an offensive guard. It took you about 2 years for him to play at a decent level on a poor offensive line. You have a mid to low level tight end, and a quarterback that is like third string at this point, and pretty much, nothing else after that. But you're super glad that you didn't go ahead and take Jadeveon Clowney, Derek Carr, and then Jackson. Right now, they need a quarterback. Right now, their line is decimated, even with Suafilo, okay, who is not going to be confused with one of the better offensive linemen. I don't care what O'Brien says. And basically, they could have had, Khalil Mack. So again, their franchise could be in a vastly different place right now. Instead, our franchise is in that place. And every player that I told you about, which are they really are cornerstones. The best drafted lineman that we have, our franchise quarterback, and our star defensive end / outside linebacker, they're pillars. The offensive line, the defensive line, the quarterback position. They would be in a much different position. And I would go on record even to say they could have gotten somebody like A.J. McCarron in the 6th round, the 7th round. They didn't, because they chose Tom Savage out of Pittsburgh instead of going with, somebody else that potentially could have won them some games. Somebody that could have came in and started like he did in Cincinnati, due to injury, but could have came in, started, and probably held on to that job. Heck, he could have went out and got Matt McGloin. He could have came to us and got Matt McGloin, who in 2012, when he was at Penn, had the most prolific season in his college career, understood what O'Brien was doing, knew how to run that offense. The only problem was he wasn't 6'8". He was only 6'1", right? But he's a kid from Scranton, Pennsylvania, a walk-on, tough, understood that he had to compete for everything he was going to get. You take Brock Osweiler, he's soft. He's soft. He can't take the kind of coaching, I think, that a guy like O'Brien brings to the table. O'Brien is a very in-your-face. If you watch him on Hard Knocks, he's going to talk to you about, how you messed up, what you did wrong, how you're out of here. He's one of those coaches, unlike Jack Del Rio, not a teacher. He's somebody that wants to sit there and ridicule you. He reminds me of my stepfather. Regardless of what you do, it's not going to be good enough. You need to try harder, and you're just constantly trying and trying and trying, and it's never quite good enough. So at the end of the day, I just think to myself that the Texans would be in our position right now. They're still a decent team, but mark my words, I think this is going to be a 9-win football team for the Texans. I don't think they're ever going to be more than a 9-win football team with that guy at the helm. I think he forces things out of players. I think they fear him more than respect him. I don't think he's really a teacher. I think he's there to tell you what you're doing wrong, and to try to continuously shame you into doing something more. I think we have the potential right now to go in here, take this game, get out of here, be 8-2, and continue, marching forward at this point. But we do have to be careful, because that altitude can be a beast. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. And when we return, I'll talk a little bit more about the Raiders side of it and what we've got going on. So stay tuned. right. Welcome back. So, as promised, like I said, we're going to go ahead and get a little bit more into this game, what I see, and again, kind of what I'm concerned with, but then also what I think we should just have an idea of. I don't think it's indicative of what's going to happen or that we would make the same mistakes. I've seen this team grow in different areas throughout this season. I saw them grow from certain things in the first 4 games to the second 4 games. And once again, I've just kind of sat back and said, okay, you know what? I trust this staff. I trust this young core of players. I see things from them that are certainly pointing up. They're showing that they can be coached. They're showing that they don't panic. They're showing they believe in each other and they believe in themselves. And they're coming together as a team. And as we talked about yesterday, we're not the only team that does that. I mean, you know, the Denver Broncos believe in themselves. The Denver Broncos play until the closing whistle. The Kansas City Chiefs, like we talked about, I think there's going to be some real comparisons here with the Chiefs to the Texans. They also really stick together. They also understand how to play within the perimeter of their game plan, their philosophy, and their head coach. You could say what you want about that football team. They're not sexy. They're not this. Not. Hey, you know what? They're just winning football games. That's it. And this is another football team that you could say, okay, they're going to be 9-7. They're going to be 10-6. And you can pretty much mark it. How far they go into the playoffs, well, that remains to be seen. I think you have to have something a little more special than what the Kansas City Chiefs have. I'm not saying they can't win the division or get there, but when I look at the Raiders against the Chiefs, I think if we have the opportunity to play them multiple times, we have shown that we can learn from what we've done and we can come back and we can play better for that. A few years ago, we could play a team twice and get beat by them the exact same way. You know, you learn nothing. You play them, you go into the half, you come out, you still get beat. Your adjustments don't work. 4 or 5 weeks go by, 6 weeks, you play them again. You know, you go into the half, you come out, nothing has changed, and they beat you again, this time by a larger margin. And even if it is a smaller margin, the fact of the matter is they didn't change up what they were doing. They were able to do it to you, and you couldn't stop them. We need to be able to do that to the Denver Broncos. But first and foremost, we need to learn from what happened with the Chiefs. If you do not learn from history, you can repeat history. We went in last year, and we felt like we could just kind of walk in there. We were the better football team. You looked across total yards, we were the better team. The Chiefs had 338.5. We had 391.6. They were scoring 20 points a game. We were scoring 28 points a game. Passing yards, they had about 248. We had 272 per game. Yards per attempt, they were 6.4. We were 7.2. In terms of sacks, they were allowing 3.3. We were allowing 1. In terms of interceptions, 0.5 to 0.4. If you look at rushing yards, 90.3. They were 21st. We had about 119.2. And then, which was 9th. And then you look at rushing yards per attempt, they were at 4.3. We were at 5.0. We were at number 3. They were at number 9. We had advantages all across the board. We were a better football team than them all across the board. If you look at the quarterback comparisons, Derek Carr, 276.6 yards per game, 66.8 completion percentage, 2.2 touchdowns per game, and only 0.4 interceptions per game. So he was committing less than half of an interception per game. He was taking care of the football. To have a 102.3 quarterback rating. Now, you looked at Alex Smith, 268.3 yards per game, down almost 10 yards from Derek Carr. Okay. If you look at his quarterback rating, 64.9, down almost 2 full points. A 1.3 touchdown per game compared to the 2.2. a .5 interception. So again, this was where we were the closest, taking really good care of the football as well. And then you look at it, an 87.7 quarterback rating. So once again, Derek Carr outperformed Alex Smith in every single category. Our offense dominated their offense. We were just a better football team from that perspective. Now, what happened? The elements happened. And this is important. The elements happened. It was raining. What element do we have in this football game? Extremely high altitude, higher than Denver. This is higher than Denver. Okay, the oxygen is very thin. So later on in games, what's going to happen is you're going to start winding down your muscles, the acid in your muscles. They're just not getting enough oxygen. You're going to get tired. Your brain is not getting enough oxygen. Your heart cannot pump enough oxygen. The little oxygen that it is getting, it can't pump it effectively to all the parts of your body that need it. And in this type of football game, that can become a factor. Why? You go back and you look at the Tampa Bay game. The offense played 5 quarters. You take a look at what they did in Denver, and the offense was on the field for a enormous period of time, 48 minutes, whatever, 43, 48 minutes, whatever it was. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but you're talking about a tremendous amount of time that the team was on in the Tampa Bay game, and then a tremendous amount of time that they were on in the Denver game. Now you get some time off, so that's a good thing. Okay, so now you're able to kind of acclimate again, but now what's going to happen is from that time, and it's exactly like I told you at the beginning of this program. Instead of getting the time off, instead of relaxing, instead of sitting on the beach with a pina colada, instead of reading a book with your family, you're really just watching everything else that's going on, and you're seeing Kansas City and Denver are winning, and you want to play, and you want to get out there, and you can't. It's not relaxing. This isn't the end of the year. Healing, yeah. That's going to happen. You're going to heal. You're going to get a little bit better. Excuse me. But the fact of the matter is that your brain is still going, and you want to get there, and you want to get there, and you want to play, and you want to show people that you can do this. So once again, I want this team not to be afraid, to respect the fact that just like in the Chiefs game, we went into that game thinking we're better than them in every category, okay? The quarterback comparisons, we have the better quarterback, the better receivers, I think even the better running game. Even though Miller at this point is having a very, very good year, if Latavius Murray had the same amount of carries, he would probably be somewhere in that vicinity as well. Richard, any of them, if we committed to the run game a little bit more. I think that the numbers would certainly be a lot closer. So I want them to understand we've been traveling a lot. We've been playing a lot. We've put the offense out there a lot. We need to be aware of the conditions, the altitude, and they've taken precautions. They're wearing the mask. They're simulating all these types of things. But this is, on paper, it looks to be an inferior football team. We don't want to get into this football game and let sort of the environment and the magnitude of this game, over 100,000 people, kind of sink in. So what we've got to do, just looking at the statistics, if we can use the statistics in our favor, looking at the statistics, this is not a team that scores a lot of points. And at a high altitude, they didn't get the extra bye week. They're struggling already. Even if you give them a ton of time, they're not scoring a lot of points. So we've got to come out. None of this, if you win the toss, take the ball, drive it down their throat, impose your will upon them. Do not overkick things. Don't outkick your coverage. Kick the ball out of bounds. I don't care. Let them start at the 25. Again, this is not a football team that puts together 18, 20-play drives to score consistently. We've seen it. There's a fact pattern. Week after week after week after week, they don't do it against anybody. So don't give, but what they do is they get big punt returns. They've got a good punt returner, good kick returner. And again, that air, because it's so thin, that ball's going to fly far, and you're going to outkick your coverage. So I say don't try to do the coffin kicks. Don't try to, pin them and do that. Just kick the dang ball. Let them start at the 25. Work your defense. Force them to kick you the ball. And I've been waiting for Richard to do this for a long time. I think this, because of what I just said, because of out-kicking your coverage, I think this is a time where TJ Carey's going to have a big game. I think Richard in the kick return game should have a big game. These are the types of guys that can do some very, very explosive things. You got to trust in Janikowski. Give him the opportunity. I know a lot of people are saying he's done, but we've just got to continue. This is the team, just points, 2, 3 points, 7 points, 6 points, whatever it is, just points. I don't care. Kick 6 field goals with this team. It doesn't matter. Play the game, stay within your offense, stay within your defense, keep them in front of you, don't outkick your coverage, and we're going to walk out of this thing at 8-2, folks. We are going to walk out of this thing at 8-2. But we've got to remember, we've got to play smart, we've got to understand, on paper, it says we're better than this football team. We got to go out there and we have to prove it. It doesn't matter what people say, we got to go out there and we got to prove it. We got to impose our will with these guys. We got to, if we can, we got to get the ball first. We got to score on these guys. And like I said before, it doesn't matter. With this team, I don't care. With other teams, the Saints, the Falcons, the Chargers, whoever, Denver, you got to score touchdowns. You got to score touchdowns. But with a team like this that just seems so out of sync, so out of whack, points. 3 points here. 3 points there. Heck, get a safety. I don't care. 7 points here. Just continue to generate those points. And I think if they can do that, if they can get some help in the return game, we can have some small fields. Like I said, I see no reason why we cannot be victorious. But in that Chiefs game again, we panicked. We made some choices that we probably shouldn't have. We tried to kick a field goal, way too far. Derek Carr panicked, threw the ball up, got the interception. And before you know it, we're the ones behind the gun. Now, I like our chances, even if that happens. That's why I love this football team, because I like our chances. Even if something like that happens, I think we'll be able to come back. I think this team believes in itself, and it's just structured that way. Like I said, when you take a look at a guy like Bill O'Brien who's going to beat you over the head for every mistake you made, and is going to belittle you, and is going to come on TV, and he's going to talk about you and talk about why you messed up. He's just an ornery guy. I mean, he's just, and I think Brock Osweiler, he's just, he's not built for that, He's built more for somebody trying to ask him, why? Why, Brock? Why did you do it that way? Explain to us what you saw. Not somebody that comes out and doesn't talk to you. Has the quarterback coach come and talk to you and ignores you on the plane ride home. And you just know, oh God, I disappointed that guy. This is terrible. I love it. Jack Del Rio last week, Latavius Murray jumps over the pile, puts that ball out there. Jack came over. First thing he said was, hey, I love it. I love the intensity. I love what you're doing out there right now. But you got to protect that football. That's the way you do it. That's why these guys are going to run through a wall for him. That's why this team is going to continue to play for him. That's why, as I said, we are going to come out of this at 8-2. I don't like to make too many predictions, but I do think that we are going to come out of this at 8-2. And if we don't, I don't see the sky falling. I just think we're going to have to regroup. And every loss that you take, if you learn something from it, if we can win 2 to 3 games off of every loss, we're going to be all right. It doesn't matter. We are going to be all right. If we can't, if what happens is we go in there and we lose, and then we lose the next week, and then we lose the week after that, and then we win one, we've seen where that is going to take you. So the buzzer says that is the end of this show. So once again, big shout out to the Knight and his family out there. You can reach us on Twitter. You can also reach us on Facebook, as well as sending us an email, thew2w@gmail.com. Once again, you can email us at thew2w@gmail.com. Big shout out to Raiders411.com. They're a sponsor of our Friday preview show, as well as the Oakland Raider football page. We'll have some commercials coming up here in a few days for both of those guys. But go ahead and check them out. Go ahead and check out www.raiders411.com. And if you go there on Friday and look at their game preview, our video appears in that article. And also our show appears on Facebook on the Oakland Raider football page on Facebook. So once again, until tomorrow, you guys stay Raider strong.
And that's why they call me